Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkey with StartupTrading.com. It is 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, June 16, 2020. So looking back at yesterday's session, right? So at the end of last week, we couldn't hold a long draw to save our lives. So starting out of the lows from yesterday, the bears couldn't hold a short draw to save their lives. If you look at the futures, they all made lower lows that were well below Friday's low. But if you look at from the market open, which is right where these boxes start, straight up through value and all the indexes and printed above value area high. The Russell even printed above Friday's high yesterday. So looking at what's going on this morning, we had retail sales at 8:30 come out better than expected. But before that, we had a headline of a generic steroid that improves the treatment of COVID patients that are either on respirators or need oxygen, right? So it reduced the number of people that die from those conditions by a third. So it's not, a third of COVID patients, but a third of those in critical care that this generic steroid has helped. And that's a study out of Great Britain that was being, that's what shot the market up for that surge before 8:30. Then you had retail sales pile on that came in with, I think, the best print since they've been tracking the numbers for over, 40 years. So we're going to have, this is the week of Jerome Powell. So yesterday he come out and said he's going to be, buying corporate bonds. So one of the main takeaways always is never fight the Fed, right? If the Fed's buying, you should be buying. So at bare minimum, don't trade on a swing trade against the Fed until you see that they can't support the market and their pockets are much deeper than yours. So as we look at, he's going to be on the mic at 10 o'clock. There'll be some prepared comments and some testimony. But, after yesterday, do you really think he's going to say anything that's going to be bearish to the market? I would highly doubt it. So we'll look at more of what's going on later. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have CPI before the bell, and then Powell again. So looking at the long term, right? Just year to date, try to make yourself look at this for at least 30 seconds a day, right? Where we've been, where we're going. So we're up at 33.97.75 or 33.93.75. Sorry, bottomed out in the bell to bell at 21.79.5. Right, we come up. This is the marker that I put on the chart when I thought the script flipped and the bulls were in controls and the shorts lost control. So as we've come through with some consolidation after that, you can see that we had all this time, and I mentioned this when we traded, right? Once we got above basically 3,030.27 right on this area of the chart, there's a void in the chart basically between when we broke down and you can call the breakdown from the all-time high, but really we broke down under 3,300. So as we broke down below 3,300 on the charts, we've come back down now and we've retested this area, and we really haven't done too much damage coming out of these lows so far. So we're going to be printing up, basically around the top of this spike in the morning, and we might start, filling these gaps. Now we're going to leave a gap here. So last week we left an island, right? I'll go ahead and mark it on the chart for a second. We left an island of traders trapped up here, right? And not a very good draw, but you'll get my picture. So now potentially we're going to leave an island of traders trapped down here. So the next thing I have on the chart is 3,200, and really because rollover had an 11-point differential, you could call this 31. I'm going to go ahead and move this down right now. You could call this 31.89. and I'll probably go back up and adjust these as we get closer to them. But this 31.89 should be a target as a and with the gap. So keep following the sequences for the news, right? See if we break down or not. So with that said, looking at the overnight session, 84 and a quarter points. Just looking at the last 10 trading days, right? You can see how we broke down. We lost it. This was resistance on Friday, right, which was the lower end of the previous week. So we were trapped below the lows. But if you look at what happened yesterday as we, pierce back up above and go higher, now we're starting to hit the levels on the charts. I'm going to go ahead, and I usually don't put support and resistance on here, but we will today. So you can see clearly on the chart that, this was support, this area of the chart, and as we lost it, it became resistance. That's going to come in right around 3170, 3171. So pay attention to that on the chart as we go through here. So looking at all the indexes, they're all above yesterday's high. So obviously very bullish. And if you look at the overnight lows, settlement, 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 settlement. So they haven't even traded, except for maybe a tick or two, they have not traded red since the session opened last night. Looking at sequences, what can we say? Very bullish. So again, looking out at what we're doing, and we can throw that level on the chart up here, right? So as we look, and 79.81, close enough for government work. As we look up here, this should be first test resistance. If we end up blowing through this should end up being support, right? So then we still haven't been able to crush through 32.19 quarter with any conviction. You can see as we tried to get above it, right? Very little candles and then lost it. Very little candles, then lost it. Then it was resistance, resistance, support. So this 79.81 area should be pretty good on the charts. Looking back at looking to the NASDAQ now, right? Same thing with it. I'm going to throw this on the chart right here. So that's going to be right around 10,020-ish, give or take, probably about 6 points up or down. And with these ranges, you should understand that these aren't going to be finite areas. They're going to be plus or minus a couple points for these support resistance areas. And then, breaking over that high, you're just basically looking at all-time highs. And if you think about it, it's only been 1, 2, 3. This will be the fourth session that it hasn't made an all-time high, right? So it's likely this week to crush through this unless, this ends up being the resistance that dies, or we come out with, that COVID news wasn't as good, but with as well as retail sales was, and with Jerome Powell on the mic, I don't think that, there's a bid on the market, and Powell's the bidder. So as we look, we've crushed through 1462.60. The next minor resistance, I'm going to move this one up. Actually, I'm going to remove it completely. And we're going to throw the same level on the chart that we did on the other ones. So for the Russell, that's going to be at 1496.30. So getting back above that. And I'm going to throw another one up here because it's clearly on the chart right at 1525.80. Looking at the Dow, right, as we've crushed back and forth, and we already have those levels on here. So the next one's going to be at 27,100, and this isn't a recent addition to the chart. This has been on here for a long time. So I first put this on the chart, before our breakdown, actually. So as we look at this, above that, you're going to have 27,462. And then you're going to have support now at 26,510 and 26,300 basically. So looking back at all the indexes, kind of putting a wrap on the thoughts for the day. Again, it's bullish. Watch this 3170 one area up and a little bit higher. Watch this on the charts to see, if we start getting some resistance within a few points of here. But this is likely to become support in the afternoon. I've got R3 up here, which is right around 32.18. Remember, we've got that untested node, right? That's going to come in basically between 3189 and 3200 for the day. So that's what I'm looking for. And until these sequences break, it may be hard to get in. And I would just look at basically, I'll let Jack give you the smaller entries if you feel like being aggressive. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.